We're ready to go to our next meeting, and I call to order the special meeting of the Glendale City Council for May 6th, 2025. May we have roll call?
Yes, council members Brotman,
Here.
Garpetian, Kasakian, Asadrian,
Here.
Mayor Najarian.
Here. May we have your report?
Yes, the agenda for Tuesday, May 6, 2025 special public meeting of the City Council was posted on May 2nd, 2025 on the bulletin board outside City Hall.
Thank you. What's the first item?
The first item is Community Services and Parks regarding CSP 2024 Senior Needs Assessment. Motion to approve the CSP 2024 Senior Needs Assessment.
Mr. Galanian.
Yes, Mayor Najarian, members of City Council, I'd like to welcome Mr. Aaron Salios of Maroon Society Incorporated, the consultant that our Community Service and Parks Department hired to conduct this senior needs assessment. Maggie Kavarian is also available if you have any questions directly for Maggie. With that, Mr. Salios.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here to represent the Senior Needs Assessment. This is a study that has been conducted over the past 2 years. It's just to give a little bit of background on the presentation today. I'm going to present just a little bit of the background, how we got here to do this study, the goals, the methods that we used to conduct the study, some of the key findings, and then some of the recommendations that are being made for you to consider, or for the city to consider. And so just the background piece is that the city of Glendale conducted a senior needs assessment in 2017. In 2018, as a result of that study, the city joined AARP's network of age-friendly cities. And as everyone knows, there was a pandemic, and the desire was to have that initial 2017 senior needs assessment updated. And so the study that we've done between 2023 and 2024 that I'm presenting today is the update to that 2017 study. Let's see if this. And so just the context of age-friendly is age-friendly defined as an environment that fosters healthy and active aging. It enables older adults and older people to age safely in place, a place that's right for them, free from poverty, and that continues to develop personally for them. And their communities will retain autonomy, health, and dignity because older people know what's best for what they need. They are at the center of all efforts. And so that's really the grounding, and this is the definition from the World Health Organization. As I mentioned, this is an update to the additional study. But in the city of Glendale, the commitment is to being a place where all people can age well in place. And this means having the ability to access affordable housing, adequate and culturally competent healthcare, safe transportation, and having a walkability, as well as social engagement and civic participation. And so why now? Well, as many of you may know, over the past 2 decades, Glendale's older adult population has grown by 42%, rising from about 35,000 in 2000 to nearly 50,000, or a little over, as of the 2023 census estimates. And so the rapid growth underscores the urgent need to plan for aging in place. This is not working well. Is there a way to advance this? Oh, over here? Oh, here we go. Thank you. So there were 3 primary goals. The first being to measure community needs across 10 domains of livability, identify gaps in the current service provisions that are available for older adults in Glendale, and propose solutions to fortify and increase livability for older adults in Glendale. And so the methods that we used were pretty robust. We conducted a background demographic analysis on the city and the population, where they're from, where they're living, where they're residing, and also what their racial and ethnic background is and immigration status to understand the unique needs. And the city of Glendale is very unique in that capacity. And so after doing that demographic analysis, we then conducted stakeholder interviews to ask similar questions. What do you find that could be improved? What does the city do well? Where are the gaps? We then took that information and we conducted a large focus group with stakeholders in the community. And from that, it was iterative. We then conducted a community survey where we completed 1,205 surveys among community members. And what I'd like to note with that is that while we have 1,200 is representative, what makes it especially representative are the methods that we used. We were able to make outreach to about a quarter of older adults in the city, and that included through online, internet-based direct invitations, through the voter registry, using service providers who are part of the age-friendly network locally, as well as different city departments and their listservs. So it was a pretty robust and expansive, both in-person and online, as well as telephone-based. Yes?
Did you guys go to the senior buildings?
Absolutely. We went in person, and the majority of the surveys that were conducted at the senior housing facilities were in Armenian as well. So it was in
And it was
English.
direct with the residents, not with the management, correct?
Yes, these are seniors in the community
Okay.
who are residents. It could be someone who works here as well, who works in the city as well, but they were residents of these housing facilities that participated.
Thank you.
Yes. As well as adult daycare centers, we also conducted them. So just to give a sense of the alignment, I won't go through all of these, but the City of Glendale has 10 domains of age-friendly that really align with AARP's same 10 domains. And then the state of California, with their master plan for aging, they have 5 primary goals. And so our study was to align with the city's existing 10 domains, which are also grounded in AARP, as well as being mindful of the 5 goals that the Department of Aging for California has in place, so that it maintains its relevance in that context. So, as I'd mentioned, I'm going to present the results will be presented along these 10 domains of livability for the city. When we think about the needs or needed support, these are the primary things that came up when people were asked. As one could imagine, housing was the primary need. Then it was food, transportation, and then other needs beyond that. This is not going to be a surprise, but quite a few of the seniors in the city of Glendale are heavily cost burdened. What is cost burdened? That means when someone is spending more than 30% of their household income on housing. And so there's a real distinction between someone who rents in the city versus owns. 70% of renters are cost burdened. And that really goes up to almost 81% if you consider someone who's spending 28% of their household income on rent, versus an owner who's a senior in the city, only 21%. And so that's the real gap, is whether you own or rent in the city of Glendale as a senior. And let's see, we'll move on to health and community support. When we think about the activities that someone needs, activities of daily living, when asked, older adults indicated that they would like to have more support with cleaning, cooking, and shopping. And then some of the other needs relate to transportation and appointment setting. This graphic shows what people perceive as the support that they will receive if they need it versus those who are actually receiving support. And so there's this perception, misperception really, that one spouse or partner will be able to provide a lot of the support that a senior needs. But when we look at people who are actually receiving support, it's more likely that they will receive support, their primary support, from an adult child or a caseworker and not a spouse. In terms of transportation, 70% of the population that was surveyed indicated that they drive, so 30% do not drive. but they rely on either public transportation or someone else in their household to provide them transportation. And only 11% relied on public transit.
What's the age group breakdown? Do you have the
Yeah, for the participants,
correct?
everyone is over 60, but
Oh.
let me see, I could pull it up.
What's the breakdown? 'Cause-
60.
Yeah.
60 is the
60
new
plus.
40. I don't know if you heard that one, but that is the way it is.
Do you drive? Do you?
One moment. It is, so in the survey, 60 to 64, 21% of the population, I'm sorry, about 21.7% of the sample were 60 to 64, versus in the city, it's 28%. In our survey, 65 to 74-year-olds represented 43.7% of all participants, which was slightly higher than the census estimate, which is at 37%. 75 to 84-year-olds were 26.1% in our survey. In the city, it's about 23%. And then 85 plus, 8.5% of the participants were 85 or older. And that aligns pretty closely with the census estimate, which is 12%. So when I talk about representativeness, it really aligns well our demographic profile of participants with the demographic profile of the city residents.
So when we are talking about things like transportation, I mean, I know we were joking a bit here, but
Right.
when we do look at transportation and housing and needs, I mean, there is something to how, life cycles have changed and the activity based on age. I know you have the 43% between 65 and 74, but I would assume that that's the number we would get. But in my mind, at the very least, that's not, what I'm considering as the demographic that would be in that need that we're looking to fill for seniors. While they are seniors, right? Like there's just
You're
times
saying
have
that,
changed. Not that they should be working or, not retiring and all of that stuff. But when we're looking at needs assessment, I would think that that bracket would be a little bit different or would look different for us to be able to analyze those needs.
so I'm not sure I'm fully comprehending the question or the comment. In terms, are you saying that you believe that the needs assessment should look at people that are 75 plus and not the younger, older adults?
Yes, so
Okay.
I'm when we talk about something like transportation, right, someone that's between 60 and 64, most definitely, right, and even the 65 to 70, would, in my mind, not fall in that bracket, while maybe that would have been the case, I don't know, 50 years ago or, 80 years ago. Lifestyles have changed, and I don't know how we're gauging that differently, knowing that times have also changed, lifespan has changed.
So I think I understand what you're saying. It sounds like you're saying you would anticipate people that are 60 to 74 not having the same reliance on
Correct.
transportation.
Not just transportation, but other needs as well.
Oh,
right?
other needs as well. So,
Like when we're looking at senior needs.
yeah, no, I understand what you mean. So I think it's everyone has different needs. There are older adults that have like great cognitive capacity. They're not living with other disabilities that are really that immobilize them. But then there are others that are living with those conditions. And so, yeah, there can't be a blanket approach to the community. There has to be the capacity to provide services where they're needed. But I mean, in addition, I would like to say that, as everyone here knows, there's a larger Armenian older adult population, and they don't always necessarily drive ourselves, and they do seem to have greater needs than, say, native-born English-speaking older adults. Just as an aside.
Right. With all these numbers that you're going to continue to present, do you have the raw breakdown for us? Not today, but that you can send to us later? 'Cause
Absolutely.
I would love to look at, what those percentages look like, if we're looking at, 75 to 84, 85 plus.
Yes, so just, well, I'm sure that the city staff can email you directly, but those are all in the appendices of the final report as well.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. So, there are a few graphics for this as well in the final report, but this map came from the Parks Department presentation, and they asked for this specific analysis. And what we're looking here, which is a little bit difficult to see because of the blue background, but it shows where the population of Glendale residents who are 60 years plus, where they're living. You see there's a higher concentration in the northern area, whereas most of the senior adult housing is in the southern areas. And so what we're looking at is the population breakdown, distribution of seniors in Glendale, along with pedestrian collisions and affordable housing units to see if there is a relationship there. And while it wasn't statistically significant, we can see just from a visual and spatial standpoint, there is a relationship where, as you would imagine, people that are living in more dense, concentrated living, along with higher traffic, there's going to be more, and there has been more traffic collisions. One thing that you may look at if you look at the final report, is that being an older adult, you're more likely to be in a pedestrian collision in the city of Glendale as well, and much more likely to be one of the people that are a fatality over the past 5 years. And so this data was provided by Glendale PD, and so we analyzed it as part of the study. And happy to answer follow-up questions that you may have on that. So when thinking about how to reach older adults that may need specific services, one question that we really wanted to know is the internet a viable way to make that communication? And so what we're seeing with these bar charts is that 88% have access to the internet in their home, but they primarily access the internet using a smartphone, where 62% use a computer. Let's see. However, despite having access to the internet, when seeking help, the majority are looking for friends and family to provide that insight for them to get help, whereas about 50% will also look on their own for the internet. Most do want that personal connection when they're seeking support. For outdoor spaces and facilities, we see that park usage still is relevant to older adults, but they go less frequent than what? 45% said that they've never been in the past month. 38%, they go 1 to 2 days a month. And then we asked, well, why do you not go to parks more frequently? For those who do not, the majority said that was the 45%, they just were not, they expressed no interest. But for those who did express interest, the primary barrier was mobility being a challenge, either a challenge to how they're going to get there, or the perception that it was too far from where they lived. Whether or not they knew exactly where the park was, we didn't fully assess. We asked why they visit community centers in the city, and the majority go to participate in activities and visit with friends. A little over a quarter go for accessing services, and a little over a fifth for the lunch program that the city provides. I think it's daily. I'm not going to go through all of these, but we asked about respect and social inclusion. We asked, what would you like to see? If the city could do one thing to help older adults in the city, what would you like? And so these lists are based on their responses to that question in the survey. It was an open-ended question. Housing came up as one of the primary ones. These are not ordered based on any frequency. It was just themes that came up. Housing, healthcare and medical, health services, transportation, technology assistance, social and recreational activities, financial assistance, safety and security, and then just overall community support. So what we're looking at here in this bar chart, this is for seniors that indicated that they sometimes go hungry on a weekly basis. We asked them, why do you go, what is the barrier? Why are you going hungry? The majority are saying or said that it was having no desire to prepare a meal or lacking the energy. And the other was not having the resources, not having the money to buy the food, or not having the food to prepare. Transportation was lower on that list, and or a person to help them with that preparation need. As you can see in the footnote, only 17% of those who indicated that they were missing a meal or they went hungry a few times a week or at least once a week. There's a gap there. There's an opportunity to connect those with the city's food and nutrition program, which is really successful for those who are aware of it. So we just have 2 more domains. This is very relevant. Emergency preparedness. While Glendale was able to narrowly avert, a much worse outcome from the most recent fires, only just over a third have a plan in place, an emergency plan, when it comes to emergency preparedness. And then the 10th and final domain, civic participation. The majority who are in the survey were retired, almost 58%, and almost 25% still work on some capacity, either full-time or part-time. And little over 14% indicated that they had a disability that made it impossible for them to work. And then we'll have 5 primary recommendations. The first being to expand housing support in Glendale. Over half of Glendale's older adults surveyed are renters, and 70% of them are significantly cost burdened, spending more than 30% of their household income on rent. And so the recommendation for the city is to consider seeking ways to introduce more affordable housing options and financial assistance programs to alleviate some of the burden of housing that is faced. Additionally, to the extent possible, the city might consider exploring implementing some form of landlord incentive to help older adults who rent. City departments, in coordination with one another, might explore options on how to support seniors with the housing burden. Obviously, this is not
Mr.
unique.
Mayor,
Yes.
Yes.
if I might, I think if I could, would you rather wait till the end for questions, or?
Let's wait to the, are you done or are you close to being?
Well, there
for
are
each
5
section, 'cause-
recommendations in
Yeah.
total, but I'm happy to go however you all want to do it.
Let's go through the recommendations, then I'll take
And
questions.
we'll come back to them? Okay.
Yes, then you can
Okay.
come
And
back.
I can always go back to the slide if you need to. Okay. Recommendation 2, enhance access to health, nutrition, and community support services. So the problem is that only 45% of older adults who need help with daily activities are receiving adequate support, leaving about 55% with greater needs. While 11% report going hungry, just 17% of those who are in some form of nutrition deficit are enrolled in the city's nutrition program. So for that, the recommendation is to explore developing a service navigator program to assess older adult needs and make connections to available resources. The city has a great deal of wonderful resources, and the gap is usually just people's knowledge of how to access them, which is a better problem to have. So this might include developing an annual nutrition outreach initiative to raise awareness about senior meals. It's the Senior Meals Program. The third recommendation is to improve transportation infrastructure. 30% of Glendale's older adults do not drive and rely on transit or others for mobility. Limited translated signage and online tools prevent many from using public transit effectively. And so the recommendation there is to introduce a fixed route shuttle service between key locations of interest in Glendale and partnering potentially with LA Metro to pilot a senior-friendly rideshare option and improve pedestrian infrastructure. As you may see in the report, the large number of pedestrian collisions sort of indicates a need for safer walks, safer crosswalks, better lighting, and maybe additional seating along pedestrian routes for older adults. Okay. The fourth recommendation is to improve emergency preparedness. Just over a third of seniors have an emergency plan, and just 42% have an advance directive, limiting their preparedness for disaster or medical crisis. So the recommendation is to introduce senior-specific emergency preparedness workshops that provide free multilingual toolkits to help seniors create emergency plans and directives. I know that fire already does some of this work, and I'm sure other departments partner with them, but maybe having more coordination could be helpful. And the fifth and final recommendation is to combat isolation through a village-to-village type model and technology literacy. As most people know in this room, isolation and loneliness are widespread among many older adults. These conditions are exacerbated by mobility issues, language barriers, and technical or technological limitations. In Glendale, many of the most vulnerable older adults lack skills to use digital tools that could help them stay connected with friends and family and other people in the community. And so the recommendation is to consider launching some form of village-to-village program that promotes mutual support and local engagement. And pairing this with multilingual technological literacy training or workshops would help with that gap in staying connected. So that concludes the recommendations.
Okay, Councilmember Brotman.
Oh, okay. Maybe let's go back to the beginning of the first recommendation. First one was housing.
Yes.
So I wanted to drill down into this a little bit more. I mean, we know, introduce more affordable housing options. Obviously, we've been working on that.
Right.
The financial barriers to doing more than, making a small dent in the problem there.
Right.
Financial assistance programs, we are considering, but again, that's, something that it's very hard to make much of a dent. Even throwing, quite a bit of money at it. But I guess I wanted to know, so what is this point about landlord incentives? I wasn't sure what was meant there. Could you maybe reference some other examples of cities?
So I'm pretty sure that the city of Santa Monica has a program that helps reduce the capacity for landlords to raise the rent for seniors who have been long-term residents in the city. I'm not suggesting that that's what they do, but I think there are other programs like that to consider. And what that means is that I know in many municipalities in the county, landlords have to pay for certain utilities like water and other things, as well as the taxes that they have to spend. Looking at exploring an opportunity to incentivize landlords to cap how much they raise the rent on an annual basis could be something to explore, because currently there's no cap on rent increases, and that is one of the concerns that will will make it more difficult for the older population in Glendale who's already cost burdened to maintain their housing.
Okay. I mean, that sounds like that's a little weird. It sounds like rent control, but only for alt seniors. I mean, I don't know that anybody is doing that or could do that.
Santa Monica has a program like that.
I mean, they have rent control.
Yeah,
I mean, the state has rent control, but
state,
I think
yes.
Santa Monica has their own layer of rent control beyond that. Okay.
for older adults, they have a
Okay.
different layer. But yeah, I mean, I don't have the solution. I don't have the answer because I don't know the political climate and what will actually work for the city of Glendale to make that happen. But if there are a way, so even if it were just helping create an opportunity to reduce the cost of utilities, either that the landlord has to pay or that the tenants have to pay, if they're older adults, could potentially help.
Yeah, and we do have programs for well, low income, not necessarily
Right.
specifically for seniors, right? They're programs, low income programs for utilities.
Yes.
Okay, I mean, that's what, I mean, as I read the report at home, you know, I'm thinking, okay,
Yeah.
well, what do we do with this, right?
Yeah.
And particularly on this one, you know, I mean, this is just all the, you know, basically what we're saying here is all the problems we have with affordability of housing, we have them even more for seniors. And
Right.
it's even more extreme, and they're even, you know, they're more vulnerable because they don't have maybe the same ability to go out and find new sources of income
Right.
when the rents go up. So, it's basically all the same challenges that we have across the population.
Correct. I mean, housing is an issue countywide, not just in the city of Glendale. It's just the city of Glendale has a unique situation because you have a larger older adult population. And when we look at older adult populations across the country, it makes they're more vulnerable here because you have a larger foreign-born
Yeah.
population.
That,
And so they
yeah.
have fewer resources even to fall back on.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
and I
mean,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I know. It's, and what was the next one? There was,
Sure.
no, I'm not going to go through every one, but just, yeah, and I think we know that. Maybe go to the next one after that.
Okay.
Is that about, okay, transportation. So, yeah, again, you know, I was reading the report. I was, I guess I was a little frustrated with some of the discussion around this whole issue of, you know, pedestrian vehicle collisions. And there was one part of the report which said, you know, we analyzed to the extent which pedestrian vehicle collisions may be explained by characteristics of the driver or characteristics of the, you know, didn't touch on what the obvious thing is. The obvious thing is design of our intersections, the types of traffic control devices. Nobody, that wasn't looked at, right? That's the obvious thing. And that doesn't have, it's not specific to, you know, seniors, but seniors are, as many of us have already heard, seniors are the most vulnerable. And Glendale is the worst among 60 cities in its size cohort when it comes to serious injuries and fatalities, car on pedestrian for seniors.
Right.
We're pretty bad overall, but for seniors, we are the worst among 60 cities in our cohort. So I don't know what to say about this. I do know we have Vision Zero, a report coming to us this month, maybe? I heard it was later this month.
Brahman on the 13th.
Yeah, so I hope when we're doing that, we can really take, you know, a close look. This is a very serious problem for our city in general, but I hope we could take a really close look at the intersections where we've had collisions, especially where we've had collisions involving seniors, and really look at how those intersections are designed and what kind of traffic control devices we have, what kind of crosswalks we have, and make a very serious go at fixing that problem. Yeah.
If I may
Yeah, yeah.
add to just
Yeah.
to that portion, it's not just the signals in Glendale. You're dealing with a population that is also coming from a country where people just walk in and onto the street. A lot of that has to do with education and habits. I can speak to that when we're talking about Armenia, because people, especially those that have been here for a while, I think Armenia itself is changing now, and we're seeing that, you know, for the better. But overarching, especially the community that's been here for the last 20, 30 years, you're dealing with seniors that are used to coming from a place that they just naturally go onto the street without using the lights, without looking at if the car's passing, because there, the cars actually stop for the pedestrians, so it's a completely different culture on the street. We've talked about this even going back to 2012 when we were developing that initial pedestrian plan, that there has to be a lot of heavy education around this versus just looking at signaling, which is important, but they have to go hand in hand for our city.
Sure, yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and I'd follow up on some of the points that you all just made. So yes, absolutely. I think it was Public Works. We had asked about some information about the timing on these signals, but we didn't receive that information back to include it in the analysis, because that would have been nice to be able to look at the intersections and the traffic signals. Is it possible that they just need to have a little bit more time for people to cross? But to the other point that was made about maybe the culture of just walking into traffic, the majority of these vehicle pedestrian collisions that we looked at actually took place in a crosswalk. That's primarily where they're being hit. So.
Yeah, and I agree. I know that there are problems with kind of behavior, pedestrian behavior, but there are also just problems with the fact that we don't have, I forget what you call it, but left turn, signals at a lot of intersections. So there isn't really an opportunity for a pedestrian to safely cross and cars are going through. But anyway,
Right.
we'll get in, when we do vision, this is not the time and place for that.
Right,
but
yeah. It was a little bit beyond the scope, but we touched upon some of that analysis.
The only other thing I had, wait, could you go one more?
Sure.
I wanted to highlight. When we talk about, I know emergency preparedness is maybe a little bit different from what I'm thinking, but one of the things that we've talked about before, and I hope we can come back to, is heat stroke among seniors in their homes. A lot of elderly, lower income seniors don't have air conditioning, and I don't remember what the data is, but we have talked about doing something in our building codes and maybe other programs that we can implement to make sure that every senior at this point really needs it. I mean, it's life or death, right, for a lot of people in the extreme heat that we're experiencing now. So that's definitely beyond just planning for an earthquake or planning for a fire or something like that.
Sure.
Having an evacuation plan is like, how are people living through these extremes that we're now dealing with? So I would like to make sure that I think that's on our radar, and I want to make sure that we're
Is there state
moving.
legislation for that? Did I hear
not that I know of.
there was something?
That's a good
But
point.
we've talked about it, and I don't know where it is. But I know, and we've set up cooling centers and we've done stuff like that. So we do have like spillover like strategies, but really, right,
Right.
people
That's a great,
shouldn't
yeah,
be
that's a
in
great
their
point.
house when it's 105 degrees.
That is correct. Mayor Najarian, members of the City Council, Councilmember Brotman, to address your question, the Parks and our Community Services and Parks Department does have the cooling centers that are operated when it goes above 94 degrees. So we do have that option, but also our senior services section does offer a fan assistance program. We had given out over 500 fans over the past 3 years, and we continue to do so. And we continue to address certain households that need the additional support. We've actually put in air conditioning units to certain senior individuals that need that type of support. So that is something that the city's doing. I'm not sure what the programs are statewide, but we do that within the city of Glendale.
That's, I have other stuff, but I'll leave it there.
Okay. Councilmember Barros.
I think because I'm seeing a lot of staff here, well, I don't think any of this was a surprise to us, or at least to me. But because staff is here, I think about a year and a half ago, I made my rounds to the senior buildings. And what I walked away with was that there was a lack of knowledge of all the programs that we have available. There was a request for more activities around the city, and then when I started mentioning, but here are all the things we have, when they talked about transportation, I mentioned the programs that are available to them. It almost feels like there's a gap between what is being passed on to the management of the senior buildings and how that gets to the seniors themselves. Also recognizing that, there is turnover in senior buildings, doing outreach, or if we're doing outreach to them, once every 2 years or 3 years may not be sufficient, because you do have, higher rate of having new seniors coming in to the building. So I think my call would be, because I am seeing so many staff here, that, we look at some outreach, because I think is getting our residents to actually use the programs we do have available for them. So I know, for example, I kind of laughed at the Dial a Ride,
Yeah.
because that was one of the, they had no idea that Dial a Ride existed. And then there was one of the buildings, there was a banter going back and forth over all the activities that are available, and how do you not know? So some know, some don't, but there is an overarching lack of knowledge.
Absolutely.
Transportation, Mr. Hernandez, Mr. Gulani, and I keep bringing up, because I know I've gotten a lot of complaints personally about routes being cut, and a particular route, I guess, that they were using that is no longer available to them. So.
I mean, part of that was why we recommended perhaps a service navigation program to help people just become aware of what's available. Because
Right.
the city does have tremendous resources.
Right.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Let's go to the public. I know we have at least a couple speakers.
Yes, Mayor Najarian. Our first speaker is Beth Brooks. You have 3 minutes.
According to the, you see that rent is the main, 70% of seniors, and I come here, almost every week, and to the city council and complain about this. You don't understand that this is a huge crisis, especially for seniors. It's an emergency, not transportation. It's an emergency. Okay, what I saw was that you reached 2% of seniors in Glendale. If that's, it was like 1,200, and then there were 50,000 seniors. If you have everybody's phone number from the Department of Glendale Water and Power, I don't know if it's a legal issue, but why can't you contact everybody according to their phone number from using that information? Because if apparently on the slide, 70% have a smartphone, I think they won't go to an email. They may not even, understand how to use email. They can at least look at a text on their phone. So I don't know why the city is not using that as a means of outreach. That seems shocking to me. Especially for seniors, they respond to paper communication, that you actually put in flyers. I don't know about mailing costs, but that you maybe put it in their mail slots. They need paper. They need old-fashioned paper. I need old-fashioned paper. Regarding rent, the average Social Security retirement benefit in March 2025 was $1,931.20. One-bedrooms, and I get Trulia and Zillow notifications in my email all the time, are nearing $2,000. Two-bedrooms are between $2,500 and they're inching up to $3,000. The rent cap in Glendale is 8.8%. That's almost $180 more per month if your rent is increased at the cap, which mine is every year. So let's assume that that's $180 a month for a $2,000 one-bedroom. If 70% of renters are cost-burdened, they're paying more than 30% for housing, and that could be up to 50%, maybe 60%. We don't even know. This is a huge crisis. They don't need to wait for you to build more buildings. They need to get renters' assistance to them. And I will say, because of the Renters' Rights Program, that there's no teeth to ensure that landlords will do right by the renters. I think you need to give it to them directly, because there's no way for you to prove that the landlords will even pass that on to the renters. That's basically it. I think that, you need financial assistance. If I'm going to come to the city council meeting tonight and hear Mr. Brotman wants $5,000 for, for a gay rights program, I'm going to say, where's the $5,000 for the lady who lives in my building with the cockroaches who sleeps on the couch? She needs it more than that event. This is a crisis. You need to help people. They can't wait for buildings to be built. They need direct assistance. Prioritize these people, especially older people. Prioritize them, please.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Herbert Milano.
Councilmember Broadman, members of the City Council, my name is Herbert Molano. What you received today is precisely what my advocacy has been for the past 25 years. So I commend the City Council, commend the City Manager, and the gentleman whose firm created this particular document. I wish that we had reports of this kind every single year for each one of the various different segments of our society, for youth as well, and in a similar way. What I want to say is that the idea that you have this particular report should be transferred into policy decisions during the budget session. It's you take the most salient problems that you have there, and then you go through the allocation of money to solve those particular issues. Here we have issues with regard to the police, emergency medical services, parks and recreation, Glendale Water and Power. Every department has something to do with a solution to the problems that you face here. As an example, with EMS is how many of the seniors are falling on the sidewalks. There was a time a few years ago when there were like 3 a day. How many had a cardiac arrest and survived? How many individuals did not get vaccinated during the last COVID-19 epidemic? We have the lowest vaccination rate in Los Angeles County of all the 88 cities, or near the bottom. The parks and recreation, no ability to be able to go to a park because there isn't one for many of them. The Glendale Water and Power, how many of the seniors could not afford to pay their electric bill? Housing, should we be spending $900,000, $1,000 million for a housing unit and maybe benefit 60 people, 100 people, where you could use those tens of millions of dollars to basically help out a significant portion? Do you want to construct or do you want to help? Those are decision issues that should be addressed during the budget study session. And I commend you, Ms. Asaturian, with regard to Councilmember Asaturian, with regard to your interest. Like, we have someone finally interested in those demographic issues to say, we are addressing it, we are visiting it, and now that we have the data, how can we address the budget to address that need? And that is precisely what I've been advocating for the last 25 years, that issues that have to do with society need to be aligned with how you do the budget. But we seem to have things backwards. We figure out, what do we need for pensions? What do we need to increase salaries? And then whatever is left over, then we address some of the problems and they persist. Thank you very much for this amazing report. I wish we could put that as part of our quality of life indicators every single year. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other comments or calls?
That is all.
Okay. Thank you. If there's nothing else, I appreciate the report. It certainly addresses and verifies some of the concerns that we have had through the years. This is an action item. Would someone like to move it?
I'll move it.
Second. I think it's a note and file. Yeah.
It's approval. Move to
It's,
approve.
okay, we're approving,
The assessment.
accepting the
Approving the
report.
assessment, yeah.
Accepting the report. Okay, second.
Roll call, please.
Council members Asadrian,
Yes, and please don't forget to send me the raw data.
Brotman,
Yes.
Karpetian, Kasakian, and Mayor Najarian.
Yes. Thank you very much. Next item, please.
Next item is Public Works regarding construction bids for the Glendale Arts and Entertainment District improvements on Artsakh Avenue project. One resolution adopting the revised specification, rejecting all bids, dispensing with competitive bidding, and authorizing the Director of Public Works or his designee to directly negotiate with the qualified bidders for the Glendale Arts and Entertainment District improvements on Artsakh Avenue project, specification number 3893R.
Mr. Galanian.
Yes, Mayor Najarian, members of City Council, the Public Works Department back in August of 2023 advertised Artsakh Avenue improvement projects for bids. Unfortunately, they didn't receive any bids before the deadline. Upon some investigation and adjustments to the plans and specifications, they re-advertised the project in October of last year in 2024. And as on January 15th of this year, they luckily received 3 bids. Unfortunately, though, the lowest bid was that was lower than the engineer's estimate was deemed non-responsive because they didn't meet the mandatory requirement for contractor's experience. And the remaining two bids were significantly higher than the engineer's estimate of $8 million. So the request is to reject all bids and negotiate with 2 qualified bidders instead of rebidding the project in order to keep the project on schedule and save on the cost of administrative processes. And once the negotiations, hopefully if they're successful in reaching a negotiated amount which is in or around the $8 million budget, then we'll come back to council and request approval to award the contract, and if necessary, request for additional appropriation. That's the gist of this report. Mr. Oganessian, our Assistant Director of Public Works, City Engineer, as well as Mr. Hernandez, our Public Works Director, and staff from engineering are available if you have any questions or would like a more detailed report.
Yeah, I just have one comment, I had noted this, I think, during the last staff briefing too, but while I'm okay with this, also as you're going through the process to look at financing options that are available, and that I know we're going to have our budget conversations, but starting to look at different ways that we can finance these, both in potential, municipal loans as well as grants that are available. And I know that, just a note, I know that this project was submitted as part of a line item request from the federal budget with Congresswoman Friedman.
Mr. Galanian, are you going to be, perhaps I missed it, will you be approaching all 3 bidders or just the 2 that are qualified?
Mayor Najarian, only the 2 remaining bidders who were qualified in the process.
I mean, just for the record, as submitted, the lowest bidder was approximately $7 million. Then the next up was close to $11 million, and the third, the highest, was close to $17 million.
That
So
is
quite a
correct.
range of bids there.
Yes, sir.
And so you're going to be speaking to them and trying to get the best price. Will you be value engineering as well at that point?
Mayor Najarian, staff may have to go through that process. As I noted, the engineer's estimate was $8 million. We have budgeted almost $8.7 million. So there's a large gap that if staff's not successful in reducing the bid amount through the negotiation, it may have to come down to value engineering.
We trust you to do that. Therefore, are there any speakers on this item?
No speakers on this item.
Then there is a motion, before us is a resolution adopting the revised specification, rejecting bids, and negotiating directly with the qualified bidders.
I'll move the item.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmembers Asadrian,
Yes.
Brotman,
Yes.
Karpetian, Kasakian, and Mayor Najarian.
Yes. Thank you. I believe that concludes our business on the special meeting. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
The special meeting is adjourned, and I will call to order the regular meeting of the Glendale City Council.
Are we doing that?
There is one closed session item.
I thought there isn't.
There was one item that we may or may not need to actually get into, but just ask that we read the item and we'll see if we need to have a discussion on it.
Okay, so are we ready on the
Yes.
video? Roll call, please.
Council members Asadrian,
Here.
Brotman,
Here.
Garpetian, Kasakian, Mayor Najarian.
Here, will you please read the closed session item?
Yes, item B is conference with real property negotiators regarding proposed acquisition of property at 1745 Gardena Avenue.
Mr. Garcia, do you anticipate reporting out?
We do not, but the item is on the open session agenda this evening,
Just in case.
just in case.
Okay, we will recess to closed session.